Hi, everybody. So today's video is going to be just a little bit different. I am going to show you how to use a retirement calculator, specifically the retirement calculator that I use, the retirement calculator that I made. I have it available on my website and you can download it for free. So I'll put that link in the description. But I just want to walk you through how to use it. I had another video planned for today, but I realized that it was kind of referencing how to use this retirement calculator and that you might want to see a full in-depth kind of tutorial on how to use it. So let's hop right in. So you can see here on the screen, this is my retirement calculator. I'm just going to start from the beginning and go through so you see like step by step how you can use this retirement calculator to show you exactly how much you need to retire. So you just start here with your current age. I'm just going to put in 35 as an example. You're going to put in your age at retirement. So I'm just going to change this up to 68. You put in how old do you think you're going to, or excuse me, how long you think you're going to live, which is a little dire, but you know, we're all going to live to a certain time. So make an educated guess there. We'll stick with 90. And then what the calculator is going to do in this little section is show you exactly how many years that you'll need to have this, your retirement last. And it'll also calculate for you how many years you have left to invest. And just in case you get stuck when you have this and don't want to go through this whole video and watch it again, what you can do is just hover over these little red arrows and it'll show you the directions for every single input. So next up, we're going to go into our inflation rate and return rate for investment. So I'm going to put in here, I'm going to keep this at 7.8%. This is asking you how much do you think on average that your investments are going to return, before you retire. And I have put in a little reference sheet over on this other tab here on the tab at the bottom to kind of show you what average historical rates are based on your portfolio balance. And when I'm talking about your portfolio balance, I'm talking about essentially like in a big picture spectrum, like what you have in stocks versus what you have in bonds. So you can see here on the left that it says all stocks, and so these would be the numbers that you would use for an all stocks portfolio. And this is all bonds, so this is what you would use for an all bonds portfolio. And then everything here in the middle is just a range of, different distributions of your portfolio. And you can just always remember that on the left is always the stock number and on the right is always the bond number. So this 90-10 means 90% stocks and 10% bonds. And you can just kind of go through and kind of figure out what you're going to use as your reference point depending on what your portfolio allocation looks like. I have chosen to use as the example a 50-50 portfolio allocation, which means you've got 50% in stocks and 50% in bonds. But it could be completely different. It really depends on how risk averse you are and what you like to invest in. But do just keep in mind that you want to use this top line of data here because you see how it shows this inflation adjusted number. Well, my calculator already accounts for the inflation adjustment, so you don't need to worry about that. Just use this number on the top line. So that's how I arrived at the 7.8% number. Then you have an option here as well to put in the return rate that you expect after retirement. So a lot of times, most times, people tend to make their portfolios more conservative after they retire to kind of retain that money and not worry about building it and also not risking losing it quite as much. So here I've decided to use 6.2%, which if you look back on our little historical average return rates sheet, means that I'm using a 20-80% portfolio distribution, so 20% in stocks and 80% in bonds. And again, that's going to vary based on who you are and what you like to do. But it's kind of good to show a difference between like what your stocks are going to do before, or excuse me, what your investments are going to do before you retire, and if you're planning on changing that allocation after you retire, which most people do. And then you're going to stick to an average annual inflation rate. Right now, the average annual inflation rate is 3.01% to the best of my research. And so that's what I've decided to put in here. And before we move on, I just want to do, one little thing is that these are average historical return rates, and we never know if those are going to be the same going forward. We can't predict the future. So there's always risk when you invest, and you take that upon yourself anytime that you invest. I'm not giving you here personal advice about how to do so. I'm just kind of showing you how to calculate this number on your own to get a really good idea of what you need to retire. Okay, so we'll move on over to salary. So I've put in that this person that we're fictionally using has a salary of $50,000 a year, and that they expect every year to have a 3% increase in their salary. So every year they expect to get about a 3% raise. I've put in here that this person is saving 17.5% of their salary. Woo, that's a good savings rate. So I'm going to keep that there. And I've also put in that they have an employer match. Now this can be a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to walk you through it. When we talk about this little section here, what you can say is, so for instance, my employer matches 50% of the first 4% of what I contribute. So they structure it that way because they want to encourage us to invest more, even though they're really only matching 2%, but they only match up to 2% if I contribute a 4%, which is an incentive for me to invest even more into my retirement portfolio. So in this case, you would put those two numbers here, right? 50% is what my employer matches, but they only match that on the first 4% of my contribution. So if you have a similar situation, you can tailor this to your, specific needs. So for instance, let's say they match at straight up 4%, right? Well, in that case, you just put 100% of 4%. And that should give you the correct total. But I'm going to keep this at 50% of the first 4%. And then this calculator will show you what your current annual contributions look like. Now, keep in mind that while you're using this calculator, there are gold cells and navy blue cells. So I have a little legend over here that says to enter your information into gold cells, and that results are shown in the navy blue cells. So as you go through, just make sure you're not trying to write in new information into these blue cells, or it might, screw up the spreadsheet a little bit. This is our result here, so I'm gonna skip that for now and show you how to continue to fill this out. So we have here another variable where, as we put in what we're earning today over in this current savings contributions area, this part is asking us how much do we want to live on when we retire. So, do you, want to live on $30,000 even though you currently make $50,000 a year? Well, then you'd have to save a little bit less. But if you want to live on $60,000 and you currently make $50,000 a year, well, then you're going to have to save quite a bit more. So just put here what you expect or want to live on in your retirement. And that will automatically right there put out a number for you that will show you what your inflation adjusted salary is at retirement. And what this is doing is it's calculating how many years that you have left to retire, like right here, or right here, years to invest. It's taking that number and then it's multiplying it by what we have stated to be the inflation rate. And it is doing that throughout your entire lifespan. So this is giving you an average of what that salary would be when you retire. Then here, it's going to say, tell you the total amount that you'd need to fund 100% of your retirement throughout your retiring years. And so I think I misspoke just a little bit here. This is going to tell you what your salary is the year you retire, not throughout your lifetime of retirement. And then this number is going to tell you the total amount that you'd need in order for your retirement to last all the way through the number that you put here for your life expectancy. So moving on, it also gives you an option to enter what you have already saved. So if you are saving for retirement or have saved for retirement, you can put your current balance here, and I hope that you have been. But if not, no worries. Like, we all start somewhere. So just as long as you start as soon as you can and keep going, there's hope. There's definitely hope that you can have a way to retire and retire well. So once you put in the value of your current retirement savings balance, what it's going to do is to show you, based on inflation, what your value of your current savings at retirement is going to be. And that also includes your, based on inflation, as well as the return rate. So it's assuming that it's continued to be invested. It's not just sitting in cash. Then it's going to show you the value of your current contributions at retirement. So that's taking this number here and multiplying it by the time that you have to live, or excuse me, not the time that you have to live, but it's multiplying it by the time you have left to invest. And it's going to spit out that number there. And then these two next sections can be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to go into a little bit deeper detail here. So other income you can kind of look at as being possibly you could use it as Social Security, what you expect to get from Social Security, although I tend to not include that in my retirement planning because, you know, people who are a lot smarter than me have fought, you know, very, very, very much about whether or not retirement is going to be, or excuse me, whether or not Social Security is going to be around when I retire. And so I've decided just to kind of build my portfolio based on the fact that it's not going to be there for me. And if it is, then that's great. I'll have a little bit of extra money, but if not, I'll still be safe. But if you'd like to add retirement, or excuse me, if you'd like to add your Social Security numbers in here as well, you can do that. And you could also use this section if your company offers a pension program. So what you're going to do here is put your age when you retire, when your income begins. And I've got a little note here that says currently the age to be eligible for full Social Security benefits in the United States is 66 years and 2 months for people born in 1955, and it will gradually rise to 67 for those born in 1960 or later. So I'm going to put here 68, we'll just say, or we'll put in 67 because that's what it says in there. Then what we are going to put in is what we expect to get. So I'm just going to put in, and it's in today's dollars, so it'll adjust the inflation for you. You don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to put in, let's say, $2,000. And then it'll show you the annual amount in today's dollars and the inflation adjusted amount. Then it'll ask you what your annual increase is. Again, I don't know this specifically, and that is I don't know it because it changes quite a bit. And so you can't really count on, like, a Social Security Administration doesn't say that they're always going to increase that amount by the rate of inflation. Although that seems to be what they tend to do, is to increase it by the rate of inflation, but that's not guaranteed at all. So we never really know what that annual increase is going to be, but I've just put it in here to be aligned with the rate of inflation that I expect. And then this will automatically calculate how many years that income will be paying out and the value of that total income at retirement. Now, like I said, I am not going to put this in for myself, and I'm going to take it out for our example person as well. So I'm just going to zero those things out so it's not counting on us having that in retirement. And like I said, you could also use this for a pension if your company offers a pension plan. Then down here, what you're going to see is the value of other assets at retirement, payments per year, and withdrawal payment type. Well, what does that mean? I think the best way to look at this is to imagine that you owned a rental property. And if that rental property, if they were paying you a rent of $1,000 a month and you owned it free and clear, and that was what you took away, it was not including any expenses that you had to pay for, that you net, you were getting $1,000 a month from that. Well, what you would do is you would put in this field $12,000. You would say that you're getting 12 payments per year. And the withdrawal payment type, remember, we can always hover over this number, is whether you plan to withdraw the money at the beginning or the end of the month. You enter 0 if you're planning to withdraw the money at the end of the month, and you enter 1 if you plan to withdraw at the start of the month. So that would give us an extra amount as well to count on during retirement. But I'm going to also zero this out just for example purposes. And what we can see then is our results. And first I'm going to go over these results up here. These are some other methods to calculate retirement that I'm going to go over in a future video, but they're the 80% rule, the 10% rule, the 25x rule, and the 33x rule. And it's going to automatically calculate for you what you would need to retire today based on that number and what you would need to retire at the age that you listed in order to retire. If like a lot of these are for if you plan to retire early, this 25x rule is if you plan to retire early. So these are the amounts that you would need to be able to retire today or to retire at the age that you listed you plan to retire. And that automatically calculates for you there. But the real interesting place is down here, this area that we skipped before. So what it's going to show you is whether or not you have a shortfall or an overage in what you're saving for and if you're going to hit your target or not. So right now, for instance, it shows that there's a shortfall. You know, this person is, oh, no, actually it's opposite. So, which is good. I'm glad I caught this when I'm talking to you because it can get a little confusing. So if a negative number shows here, that means that you're saving more than you need. It's a little counterintuitive, but yeah, it means that you're saving more than you need. So this person who has, you know, saving about 17.5% of their salary and has $50,000 in retirement and isn't counting on any sort of Social Security for themselves, they are actually in a surplus situation. So they're saving more than they need to safely retire. So it's going to show you here that their current savings rate is 17.5% of their salary, and their goal savings rate is actually 11.72% of their salary. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they could either, you know, bump down their savings rate, which I almost never recommend to do, or they could consider retiring earlier if they chose to. And just to, you know, as a reminder, this is not a guarantee that this number is going to be exact. There are so many factors that go into this that are in the future that we can't predict. So while I think this is right now the best possible way to get an idea of what you might need to retire, you know, I certainly can't guarantee that, you know, 30 years from now, you're going to look at this number and say, oh, this was exactly right. Thank you. But like I said, you know, anytime we invest, there's risk involved. So just keep that in mind. And then this chart down here is going to show you the difference between what your goal savings rate is and what your current savings rate is. So everything here in blue is what you actually would need over the course of your life, and everything in gray is what you are currently putting out there to have, or you're on target to have this amount. And that's really it. That's you know, the whole deal there. So I thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I hope this helped you. I hope, you know, you're on track to save for your retirement goals. But like I said, whether or not you have started saving yet, no matter your age, there's always hope and a way to figure out a way to retire in a safe way. And I hope I can help you with that with future videos. So please stick around and be sure to like this video and subscribe if you liked it a lot. I do post videos once a week, so I'd be more than happy to have you as my guest and be able to watch and help you out you know, as I go forward here. And like I said, I will have this retirement calculator listed in the comments that you can download for free on my website. So I think that's it. Bye for now.